Hi everyone, welcome to one more interview for Java EE8, the next frontier. And today I have here my guest, Mr. Steve Millidge from Payara, CEO from Payara. So Steve, it's a pleasure to have you here today, and very welcome.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to do this interview. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm too. So Steve, can you tell me a little about your involvement with Java EE? Uh, Talk a little about Payara, your history, and so on.
Yeah, sure. So I've had a long involvement with Java EE, not so much in JCP or Java EE8 JSRs, but I've been doing Java EE since back in the very early days of Java EE from servlets and JSPs. So I founded a consultancy company, and we've always specialized in actual application servers. So we did a lot of work on troubleshooting, performance and deployment, and operational management. So I'm very familiar with Java application servers, how to build applications on them, and how to run application servers themselves. So I've done that for a very long time. And I'm also now the founder of Payara. So Payara is an open source application server. It's derived from the Glassfish source code tree. So I'm more of a guy who understands the guts of application servers themselves, rather than actual building Java EE applications. So for my sins, I've never really built that many Java EE applications, but I've built and managed a lot of Java EE application servers.
Yeah, so you've been living from Java EE for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Steve, what are your expectations with this new version, Java EE8? We are almost on the release date, maybe this summer. What do you expect about it?
And it's all in the terms of features and things that are coming.
Yeah, the features, improvements, and so on.
I mean, the key thing I think is coming in Java EE8 really is HTTP2 support. Well, it's not really an API, but it's really important from an infrastructure point of view. That's going to create a lot of performance increase. So being able to support the HTTP2 protocol will give us a lot of ability to do request response multiplexing, things like that, and header compression. So it may not be a key on the top of developers' minds, but it's extremely important from the Java EE infrastructure point of view. Because along with that, with Servlet 4 will come some of the push capabilities and multiplexing through server-sent events. That's one of the things I'm really looking forward to from an application server perspective. The other major thing, which you can do now in Java EE7, but as someone who builds the infrastructure for these servers, JDK 8 is mandated by basically by Java EE8, and that means that when we're building Payara, we can actually write JDK 8 code, which we can't at the moment because Java EE7 requires JDK 7. So that, from my perspective and what I do day to day, that's the key things. Also looking forward to CDI. So CDI is becoming more and more aligned with the other specs and becoming more and more fundamental to the programming model of Java EE. And that's great. And that aligns with some of the work we're doing in Microprofile, where CDI is becoming the core programming model of Microprofile. And also CDI is bringing in support for Java SE. So that may not seem relevant from a Java EE perspective, but as someone who builds runtimes, it means that we can start looking at actually building a CDI runtime from the ground up that would support a full application server and allow developers. And so that allows us to provide developers with new thin-air runtimes. In addition to that, we're going to have some simple things around JSON processing and JSF, JAX-WS, those APIs are going to be bringing more and more integration in with CDI and better integration for the rest of Java EE. And again, more with a application server perspective. So Java EE8 should bring in Java EE security. And finally, developers will have a common way to integrate into the security infrastructure that's provided by application servers or application server runtimes. And then moving a little bit back to CDI, the SPI, as in the service provider interface to CDI, is changing a fair amount to make it a lot easier to make and write CDI extensions. So we write a lot of CDI extensions at Payara, and basically for doing things like integrating JCache, request tracing, and work in the microprofile space as well. So actually having a much easier way to write CDI extensions will benefit us. And from a developer out there perspective, there's no excuse really when CDI 2 comes along to not investigate how to write CDI extensions, which are incredibly powerful. And now that CDI is more at the core, will hopefully spawn a whole sort of ecosystem of people creating CDI extensions. So there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there for someone like myself who actually builds and runs things, and I think there's a lot in there for developers as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we should expect, right? Steve, talking a little about Payara, do you have any plans for a compatible version with Java EE8? I don't know if you can talk a little about it.
Sure. So basically, Payara is built from Glassfish. So when Glassfish releases their Glassfish 5, which will be the reference implementation of Java EE8, then basically Payara will start. Well, Payara has already started, but we will start building our application runtime based on the Glassfish 5 code base, ready to release around about, well, I'll say first quarter 2018, but hopefully it'll be earlier than that. So we have already started. We have a branch in the Payara GitHub, which is both pulling in Glassfish upstream changes, but also making our own changes for Payara 5, which will be aligned with Glassfish 5. So we're doing quite a lot of work on the Payara side to make both our micro and server based on the Glassfish 5 code base. And we've got a lot of work we want to do internally to Payara itself to make it faster and leaner, and basically to change the deployment model as well of applications and how you would deploy runtimes that support Java developers. So we have a lot of plans. We start writing code. The release date, I would hope, would be our 18.1 release. So we release every quarter, and our releases are named by the quarter. So 18.1 would be February 2018. That's our internal target, to have a supported version. Between now and then, we'll release alphas and betas, so people will be able to play with it almost from the day that Glassfish 5, or before the day Glassfish 5 comes.
Sure. We know that you are very involved with Microprofile. And how do you see the relationship between Java EE and Microprofile? What we should expect from both scenarios, both cases?
I mean, to me, it's a fairly simple relationship, really. One, Java EE is a standard. Java EE as a standard produces a lot of APIs. But also because it's a standard, it moves fairly slowly, as standards do. I mean, we're all getting excited about HTTP 2, so obviously it's taken a long time to go from HTTP 1.1 to 2. The standards move slowly, so Java EE necessarily moves quite slow. The goal really of Microprofile is to bring a bunch of application server runtime engineers. So, for example, like from IBM, Tommy Tribe, Payara, Fujitsu, and some others that I like, some others which I will forget. So I apologize to those people. And to actually collaborate with the community and Java developers in general in an open source foundation, which is Eclipse, to create new APIs for essentially microservice type architectures. And this is more of an experimental type activity, so it's not a standards-based activity. We're not setting new standards. We're just creating new APIs built on top of some of the Java APIs, so CDI, JSONP, and JAX-RS initially. So that's our core. So it's not Java EE as such for the full spec. It's just those three APIs, and then we're looking at building new microservices-oriented APIs like configuration, so that containers will work well in. Sorry, application servers will work well in containers. So the relationship is really Microprofile is an innovation. We just generate APIs for microservices type workloads on top of three core Java EE APIs. But using the same benefits that some of Java EE gets is that you have a lot of people collaborating, therefore there'll be a lot of choice of what runtime that you would run a microprofile application against. And then longer term, those APIs may or may not go into the JCP as a standards body to become Java EE APIs. So that is both a hope, but not necessarily a goal of Microprofile. So it's not really a competitive thing. It's more it's more about iterating and innovating quickly in the community and then standardizing later. But it's particularly focused on microservice development.
Sure, sure. I think it's important to know your point of view, because many people have doubts, because it's a new initiative still. So
yeah, think of it in some ways. If you take like Drop Wizard, which is a framework,
sure.
It's built on APIs, then Microprofile is more like a competitor to something like Drop Wizard, where multiple vendors are collaborating to create a microservices runtime that's common across all our different product sets. And it fundamentally builds on three different Java EE APIs, similarly to Drop Wizard builds on JAX-RS and Jetty and servlet APIs. So, but then maybe that the config API that has just been created now will go into Java EE, or it may not. So.
Okay. And Steve, took 4 years since the last version of Java EE, Java 7, sorry, was released on 2013.
Yeah.
And now for 4 years after, we are almost on the Java EE. How do you see the impact of that long or between versions? Do you believe that will have some impact in terms of adoption? Maybe the market will be, I don't know, a little insecure, or you don't see it's a big deal?
Well, it's been a long time, but then it tends to be a long time. I don't know if it's been longer than the gap between Java EE 5 and 6. It may have been, or 6 and 7. So it's been longer than it should be, and that maybe has produced some initiative like Microprofile as a response just to that, but just to the need to do more rapid innovation. However, Java EE is not there to be innovative, really. It's there to be form a foundation for lots of different things. I think when Java EE 8 comes out, that there will be rapid adoption by Java EE developers, because from a runtime point of view, there's not a lot in Java EE 8 that's going to, I suspect that many people like IBM and Red Hat and people will get their Java EE 8 compatible application servers out to market very quick, because there's very little to do in there from an application server point of view. So I don't think there'll be a huge delay from releases. And therefore, I don't think there'll be a large lag in adoption from Java EE developers to go from 7 to 8, because there's actually not a lot of breaking change in there that's going to cause a lot of pain. So once it does come out, I think there'll be rapid adoption, both from the runtimes and from developers. Whether it's too slow or too fast will depend on whether you like stability or you like innovation. My view is it's probably slightly too slow, but then you probably don't want to release every year either. You probably want to wait 2-3 years between Java EE releases. But as I said, Java EE is a foundation for many different technologies. So Drop Wizard, Spring, all these things use Java EE APIs because they are fairly stable in the foundation. They may not be Java EE compatible in the strictest terms, but they're all using Java EE API underneath the covers.
Okay, so as you mentioned, Spring, many people from the maybe J2E times have moved to Spring because J2E was not so friendly. Do you think that the new versions of EE8, maybe 9, are more suitable to those people maybe come back to Java EE world, start using? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I have probably a slightly different perspective on this. As someone who's spent most of their time actually in the guts of the runtimes and the operational side and building application servers themselves, I think some of this is a bit of a false argument, really. And if you remember J2EE, you're probably getting to my age, to be honest. So it's a bit harsh to call Java. But like I said, Java EE is a foundational technology. So to say there's a Spring versus Java EE split is a bit wrong in that Spring uses a lot of Java EE APIs. It might not use all of them. It doesn't use CDI or EJBs and things like that, but it's still fundamentally based on servlet APIs. It uses Hibernate for JPA. And similarly, like I mentioned, Dropwizard is fundamentally a Java EE runtime, not a full Java EE runtime, but it uses a lot of Java EE APIs that come out of the standards body. So I think the split is a little bit false and a little bit marketing. However, do I think Spring developers will migrate back to Java EE? Probably not. Some may, but in general, I think developers like to stay with what they know. And there's a lot of pain in migrating from one framework to another framework, you're going to be sort of not as productive as you were if you know Spring really well and start moving to Java EE. Similar, if you know Java EE well and move to Spring, then you'll be less productive as you start. So I don't think it's something that will bring hordes of Spring developers back to Java EE. Java EE is very easy to use now, very simple to write code, very simple to write business logic, and it's designed to get out of the way for nowadays so that you can write a lot of your business logic and not worry too much about runtimes and assembling things and any of the plumbing. But I think what Java EE 8 and Java EE 7 will do is keep Java EE developers developing on Java EE platforms.
Steve, I think we lost your sound. I think we lost the audio from you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can see me.
It's very, very low, the sound.
Still low?
Yeah.
Like that.
Little better, but very, very low still. What was nice and suddenly it's almost disappeared.
Is that any better?
Oh, perfect. No, it's perfect.
Okay, I switched mic. So I don't know what happened.
Okay, thank you. Let me see the next question. Can you say talk a little about containers from your point of view, from Payara point of view? How do you relate? Do you think that Java 8 will be more suitable to work with containers? Do you see any features that will improve the containers use related to Java EE?
So I don't see anything in Java EE 8 that is going to help. I don't think it's the actual job of Java EE 8 as it's really creating programming APIs that can make much difference in containers. I think it's the job of people like ourselves in Payara to make life easy for Java EE developers to run applications within containers. So we've done a lot of work in that space, working with customers who are using a lot of Docker and OpenShift to make Payara and Payara Micro run well in containers. So there's things that we've done which aren't in the specification, but that make life a lot easier. So we've done work to make deployment descriptors, annotations, and those portions of Java EE easier to run in Docker by making the values of deployment descriptors and annotations replaceable through environment variables, so that you could take a Docker container, move it to a different environment, change a set of environment variables, and still run the application without having to unpack it or to change deployment descriptors or anything like that. So we've done a lot of work, again, in Payara itself, and I think it's our job really to make sure that these runtimes work well in containers. Again, similar if we wanted to work with Kubernetes and clustering or routing, then that again more likely to be under the Java EE API, and be my job to make that work well for people. And we're doing work again to make it integrate well with Kubernetes. If you start new Docker containers that they can cluster together, they can discover each other. The Payara runtime can run well in that environment. So you don't actually need Java EE 8 to do this. You can do this with Java EE 7. The other thing about Java EE and containers is that it's actually a really good model for Docker containers. So the thin WAR model of just creating a small Java EE WAR file, dropping that onto a Docker image, which is in layers, with the top layer being the actual Payara Micro or Payara Server runtime, which is versioned and well known. And then as you build and do development, and all you need to do is change the thin WAR layer in the Docker container, and that actually has hugely speeds up development turnaround as your Docker image changes are very small. So Adam Bean's done a lot of videos on this, and is a big advocate of it, and it's actually a benefit of Java EE itself and its model of having a Java EE container, and then having it provides a lot of services to a developer, and then them writing a thin WAR on top. One thing that could help, which isn't in Java EE 8, but which is in Microprofile and maybe scheduled into Java EE 9, is producing a configuration API. So that's one place where Java EE as a standard for APIs would help. So Microprofile is doing work and creating a config API, which will allow developers to retrieve configurations from their runtime as they're running their applications, and that's designed so that we work in container world. So basically summarize, yeah, we can run on Java EE is perfect for Docker. We can run Docker now. We're doing a lot of work as the runtime developers to make sure that job's easy. It's our job really to make that easy rather than the JCP.
Okay. Steve, we had a couple of weeks ago the shutdown of JavaNet. All the projects were migrated to GitHub. Do you think that this movement will bring the community more closer to the specification, make it more easier to get involved, and maybe in the next versions we'll have more participation from the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think moving to GitHub is a really positive move. It means that the source code is very accessible, both for all the specifications and the Glassfish itself, which is a reference implementation. Everybody, or most people know GitHub, they're familiar with GitHub. The fact it's using Git itself makes life a lot easier. A lot of the previous Java.NET was using Subversion, which is quite difficult to actually synchronize the repositories. So yeah, it's very positive from a visibility point of view. Hopefully the moves will mean that we'll actually see a lot more open source type development techniques, whereby people can raise PRs, get the PRs merged, and that would have a huge benefit to development of Java EE. That's really up to the people who run the different specifications, whether they accept PRs from the community and how they manage that. But obviously now with GitHub, hopefully anyone can raise an issue, anyone can raise a PR, and then as someone who runs an open source community, an open source project, It's then how you act and react to those PRs and issues, and how that's how you build a community and how you drive assistance from that community. So it's a very, very positive move. It makes it really easy. I encourage people to go onto the Java EE GitHub organization and take a look at everything that's on there, because it's all on there. So that's great.
Yeah, and for people that wanna help with Payara, wanna get involved, wanna I don't know, getting really help the improvement. What do you suggest for them?
I didn't quite hear it. Did you say what you do for the suggestions that we receive on GitHub?
Sorry?
I didn't quite hear your question.
Oh, okay. For people that wanna get involved with Payara and wanna contribute and help with the improvement, what do you suggest? What can they do for that?
Okay, so Payara is all developed on GitHub as well. We love issues, actually. Anyone has any issues, just raise them. I say, as someone who builds an application server, I hate bugs. So as soon as there's a bug on there, we're on it to try and fix it, reproduce it. But actually, feedback and enhancement requests are really good, because I'm not a Java EE developer. I'm building an application server or runtime. So anything we can do to make life easier. I know how painful some application servers have been in the past. So when we created Payara Micro, one of the main things we did was to try and make it as simple as possible to deploy applications. So I love issues, whether they're bugs or enhancement requests. So I encourage anyone to raise them on GitHub, and we do actually have a team who monitors it. It's on best endeavors against support tickets, but it does get monitored. And then we do actually have contributors that write the code, and we are happy to merge people's pull requests. We have full Jenkins test suite, so it will run and test their PR. If they're a bit nervous about it, don't worry about it. And one of the best things, actually, recently I was at a community event, and someone thanked me because it had been their first contribution to an open source project, and we've been really nice. So we're a really nice community. We're not like scary. So yeah, feel free to make the PR, even if it's the simplest thing. The more work other people do, the less I have to do, to be honest.
Right.
Enhancement issues, we love people contributing.
Sure. And Steve, do you recommend any kind of resources for people that want to learn Java EE? I don't know, blogs, books, podcasts, or whatever, Twitter handles, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Adam Bean in his videos, he's a great advocate for Java EE. He does all his sessions where if you have a problem, you can ask questions and he'll fix them. The obvious thing is the Java EE tutorial, which is still out there, both in a book and still online, and that's from Oracle, and that will take you through building applications. So the books by Aaron, Antonio, David Hefferfinger, and they're all really good, and we use them to train our team here. And another actually really good resource is if you search for Java EE samples on GitHub, there's a whole project on there which has some very, very small samples that demonstrate different aspects of the Java EE APIs. And that is a fantastic resource, both for us, who we use it for testing, to test the server to make sure all these things work, and for developers just to see how each little piece of the API fits together. Obviously, we have a blog as well. It often is about Payara server, but it often will have Java EE examples. And finally, if you can still find it, there used to be an application called Cargo Tracker, which was written by Reza Rahman, and that was a real good full example application that uses a lot of the Java EE 7 specifications and shows how to build a full responsive web application in Java EE 7. So I would encourage people to try and find that if that's still out there. I suspect it will be somewhere. And then I think we'll start writing some Java E8 samples in the same GitHub repository that the Java E7 samples. We just need to get the community together to start writing those as well.
Okay. And Steve, do you have any final words, any final thoughts, tips, or to people that are watching us today?
I think my final thought, I suppose, is that Java EE is always adapting. It gets a lot of stick, but that's because it's a standard done by many different people and contributed to very many people, and therefore it moves a lot slower than some people would like. However, the key thing about Java EE is if you learn Java EE, then you are learning the foundation technologies also for Payara, for Microprofile, for Spring, for Drop Wizard. So it's going to be around for a long time. There's a big community behind it. It's a big collaboration. So whether Java E9 is 5 years from now or 1 year from now, I'm sure there will be Java E will still be here. It's been here for a long time already, and I'm sure it'll be here for a long time after this.
Okay. So Steve, thank you very much again.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
For your time, for accepting your invitation. It was a pleasure to me. And wish you the best in your career and in your life.
All right. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank you very much. And people, thank you very much for watching us. And if you haven't subscribed on SouJava channel, please do it on this button down below. And see you next time. Bye-bye.